Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. It's that time once again to take a look at original Xbox games backwards compatible on the Xbox One and Series consoles. There are not enough backwards compatible Xbox games, but what is there are some solid choices. Today I've got 5 that I enjoy and I think you should check out. Be sure to check out my 2 other videos in this series because if your favorite isn't talked about today, I might have checked it out before. All footage was captured off of an Xbox Series X, and I want to thank my YouTube channel members for their support. But let's go ahead and hop in. First up on today's list is Otogi Myth of Demons. This was published by Sega outside of Japan and was developed by From Software, the same team that now makes Dark Souls, Elden Ring, and Armored Core. This one originally came out in North America in 2003. Otogi can be played physically and digitally and costs $20 on the Microsoft Store. Otogi is a third-person action game that feels like it's laying the foundation for the Dark Souls series. You have a choice of weapons that change your stats, and then you're thrown into these expansive levels. You have to kill tough enemies in order to move on, and you are an assassin destroying demons. There's more to the plot, but it's told in such an interesting way. Cryptic voice lines and long passages that give you this feeling that you're reading an ancient fable. And it all feels traditional too, like a story passed down through time. I love that the American version of this game allows you to swap to the Japanese voices for a more authentic feeling. The gameplay though is smooth. You hop all over the place and you will traverse through these large buildings and hills to move forward in levels. I love games that make you feel like you're traveling in places that you normally shouldn't in video games. And that is delivered here. The combat is excellent too, with many different enemy types to fight, which ensures variety. Same with the weapons that allow you to mix up your attack speed and things like that to help keep gameplay fresh. The game is challenging with hard enemies, but the interesting health design makes it sometimes brutal. You have magic power that allows you to regenerate health, but this will deplete the longer you spend in a level. Orbs also represent your health, and when one of these orbs loses all of its health, it'll break, and you cannot use that as a buffer anymore. I think it's an excellent setup for gameplay because it asks you to be a little strategic. You can't just rush in and just fight and expect to regenerate health. You need to dodge and move to manage your health for the long haul. It all works together to make an incredible experience. The traditional aesthetic seeps down into the look and sounds of the game too. This game looks gorgeous on the Series X. It's immaculate with great draw distances and a nice variety in the places you go. It's a really dark game, and I feel like the dark quality makes this game pop. Every level is eerie, and it kind of has a horror game feel in some way. I love the Japanese setting, and the musical score also helps the dark eeriness. It's filled with traditional Japanese instruments, which I love. It's got a haunting quality, and going through these levels, it all aesthetically comes together to give this game a considerable mood. This is one of those original Xbox hidden gems that gets more love nowadays, and I'm happy to see that. It's one of the more unique Xbox exclusives, and I'm glad that it's still easy to get a hold of and play. This one is well worth your time, especially if you like Dark Souls and want to see some of its origins. Next, we have Conker Live and Reloaded, a remake of the 2001 Nintendo 64 classic Conker's Bad Fur Day. This was released in 2005, developed by Rare, and published by Microsoft Game Studios. It can be played physically and digitally, and is only $10 on the Microsoft Store. This is a famous platformer that looks kid-friendly on the outset, but is full of adult humor and pushes the edge of comedy in gaming, especially on a Nintendo console in 2001. When Rare was bought by Microsoft, this remake quickly went into production. The game itself hasn't changed a whole lot, despite a few in-jokes about this being a remake. The biggest draw was the addition of an online multiplayer, which of course is not playable on the modern consoles, though it does feature a bot mode that you can play. Yet, I still think this game is well worth playing because it is a fun ride. In this game, you play Conker, who wakes up hungover. You're lost in a weird fantasy land where an evil king wants to kill you and use you as a table leg. It doesn't end there, with weird tangents like a Matrix, an Alien parody, a bank heist, and brutal war scenes. The places this game goes is absolutely insane, and that's part of the fun. Meta humor has become a bit tiring over the years, but something about Conker hits it right. I think it's kind of this I don't care mentality. It's like an old school parody movie, throwing whatever joke it can at the wall and seeing what lands. It works hand in hand with the game's interesting voice acting. It never sounds professional, and it's very mumbly, but that's part of the charm. It's this ragtag comedy game that I don't think has been replicated. Though the Xbox version actually censors more curse words than its Nintendo counterpart, but I think that's there to add some humor. If you like classic platformers though, you are in for a treat. You hop around as Conker, collecting items and fighting enemies. I wouldn't say it's as expansive as other Rare titles, but the world has a lot to look at. This game is full of funny jokes, and you want to see what the world does next and what joke you might run into. The controls are well done, and it feels great on the series controller. Conker's movements and jumps all feel accurate, and it's a great game to hop around in. And the bot mode here for the multiplayer shooter sections is a lot of fun. Of course, it's a step down from playing online with real people, but you still can get a good fix in with some awesome vehicle action and well-crafted maps. It's nice that we still have some of this available today. It also looks fantastic, with Conker's fur looking incredible for the time. This is a great upgrade and shows how much of an upgrade there was between generations. On the Series X, it's more than noticeable, and it's an excellent game to look at. This is a weird, funny, and variety-filled game. It's only $10 digitally and well worth giving a shot if you haven't before. Next is TimeSplitters Future Perfect, the third entry in the TimeSplitters series. It was released in 2005 for all major consoles and is available digitally for $10. It was published by EA and developed by Free Radical. I love Free Radical because they always have this consistent look and design in this era. Characters look cartoony, but aesthetically with that and the cartoony world, it all matches together in a really cool fashion. It creates something unique, but not over the top either. It all looks clean on the Series X, and it's great that we can still pop into this and the second entry on the Xbox today. In this game, you must travel to different points in time in order to save the future. A brilliant setup for a game because it allows you to visit and look at a variety of different levels, where each one stands out. TimeSplitters 2 is excellent as well, but definitely still has that GoldenEye feel and the level design. This entry retains certain elements like the health bars, but feels like a larger leap towards the modern, with larger levels and a more story-oriented style. Though it is more modern, that doesn't mean that it's weaker by any means. It takes all this and actually becomes a bit more silly, and it still packs in some awesome level design for this game. The story takes a stronger presence here with a ton of dialogue and an interweaving plot through time. So if you appreciate a good story, this one's gonna work for you. I think the solid voice acting goes a long way here too, really delivering in on the silliness of the plot. As a shooter though, it plays so well. The mix of different weapons and aiming, it all feels great. It has this solid shooter design, and going around and just killing all the different types of enemies is a blast. The levels are all set up in interesting ways with weaving paths, and it makes for an excellent story mode. Though it should be noted that you do get additional modes, a ton of them actually, with some silly adventures like blowing off the limbs of zombies or racing around as a little cat robot. It feels like this game is packed to the brim with things to do, and it's all well done. Yet the multiplayer is still playable with bots, and that's a huge reason I would want to go and play this one. Though you can't play online on newer Xbox consoles, the bots do a good job. There are great weapons and excellent maps, and I always have a good time just playing around with bots in this multiplayer. It's a game with a ton of options, and I think the whole series is worth giving a run through, and this one is well worth playing to this day. Fourth on our list is Sid Meier's Pirates. This was originally a PC game but was ported over to the Xbox in 2005. It was developed by Firaxis Games and published by 2K. This is a remake of a pirate game of the same name from the 80s. This one is available digitally for $10. This is one of those games that doesn't neatly fit into a genre, mixing naval combat, stealth, simulation, and sword combat to make for a mix of elements that makes this game feel grand. I always like a great pirate game, and this is another one to add to the list. This game starts out with your character being a kid, and you have been wronged, and you vow revenge. So when you grow up, you take on being a pirate, and you do pirate things to get to the mastermind who hurt you as a child. It's a simple story and works as a game that opens you up for freedom to do whatever you want. You take your ship, which can be upgraded, and you move from island to island. Here you can add more to your crew, marry governor's daughters, and start raids. This game offers so much for you to do, and I think that's part of the fun. Hours in, you can still discover something new, like the turn-based battle mode or the stealth invasions. They jam-pack this game full of things to make it a true pirate adventure. If you love the idea of just trading goods for more money between islands, you can do that too. I like its streamlined approach, and it creates some ease in learning its mechanics. If you ever played Sea Dogs, this is less hardcore than that, but I think that makes it a bit lighter and more accessible. There's a light edge to this whole game with no language other than Simlish and bright colors. Beaches in the sea all have deep colors, and they really pop out on the Series X. And I love how it's displayed in widescreen here, and it looks crisp. It makes the more cartoonish look stronger because of it. I really like how the ship battles are handled here. They are from a top-down angle, and it's an arena. It's not a simulation where you need to constantly adjust sails and take forever to load cannons. It feels a bit faster than that, which leads to some entertaining and quick battles. It's cool that you get deeds of war and you can just blast down ships, taking their supplies, crew members, or even their whole ship, which may allow you to upgrade to a better ship. Having so many options just keeps this game replayable. Looting, pillaging, and doing ship battles, this has it all, and there's even more, like leaderboards for pirates in-game. This is such a simple game, just looking at it, but it offers so much, and I think it's well worth popping onto and replaying it and getting something new and fresh every time you play. If you want something endlessly fun and replayable, this is for sure one you need to try. The final game we're talking about today is Psychonauts. This one was released in 2005, published by Majesco and developed by Double Fine. This is available for $10, but is also a part of Game Pass. This is one of those special games of the era that has developed a cult following over the years, which I'm happy to see. Like a lot of Double Fine productions, this game is extremely creative and funny, one of the true gems coming in at the end of the 6th generation. In this game, you play Rasputin, or as everyone calls him, Raz. You escape from the circus and join a summer camp for psychics. You go through this game traveling through the psyches of people you meet, handling things like emotional baggage or trauma in their brain in order to help them. It's such a wild concept, but it takes it to great extremes here. All of the brains you enter are so distinct from each other, and there's so much to look at. From the opening war level to a later fantasy one, they're all fun to explore, and there's so much humor packed into the lines and small details of this game. The creative spark here is off the rails, and it makes for an excellent experience. This is a platformer and feels great to play. Jumping and movement all work well, and all of the powers that you get work into it. My favorite is the bubble that you can roll around on to go faster, and there's so many things to collect with elements called figments of your imagination. They're little drawings hidden everywhere, and you go around and collect these. They can be hidden in some really insane places, and I enjoy that hunt. Even though the 2D design of them makes some of them blend in and extremely hard to find, but I would say most of them are fun to look for. The art style is a bit bizarre, but that's a good thing. It's a game with a visually distinct style with a ton of greens and funky looking characters. Everyone looks so odd and different in this game, and it makes for something special. You do get invested in these characters, especially with how well written this game is. Hell, I'd like to throw in a recommendation for Psychonauts 2 after this one. That game retains the same great things about this one to make for an extremely overdue sequel that actually lives up to expectations. This is the second platformer on the list today, but it's definitely far removed from Conker. This one is a bit more lighthearted and not quite as edgy. Both play well and have you going around collecting things, but it's interesting just how different they are in terms of humor. Though they're both extremely fun, Conker just is a lot darker, and this one is there for a more lighter feeling. This one remains to be an endearing classic, with many fans to this day. Psychonauts is something special, and it's well worth giving a shot. But that does wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It really helps me out in the algorithm. Subscribe to keep up with more retro Xbox content, and check out my second channel, Camp Extras, if you want more non-Xbox retro content. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support. You really help out the channel. But I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.